Hey guys, we are finally live. We are finally live. Big apologies for starting a little behind schedule. We are exactly 10 minutes late, about 11 minutes actually. Big apologies, guys. But it does not take anything away from what is going to go down tonight, right? It doesn't take anything from the value you are going to be getting. It doesn't take anything from the clarity you would be gaining tonight around the subject matter web design. So you're welcome to today's session. This is the second session in the Get Into Tech program, which is a program designed to help you get started, break into and launch into tech this year. Our first session, which held last week, was on product management, and we had Richard Osagi come on and demystify everything about product management. Now, if you were on that live, you would have to agree with me that it was exceptional, right? And I can assure you that today is going to be every bit better, right? So as we do as a culture, if you're online, let me see in the comments where you are joining in from, right? Hit the comment and type in where you're joining in from. Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, UK, the UK, China, wherever you are joining us from, Accra, Ghana, just drop it in the comments, basically. I'd like to see. And so our expert speaker for tonight is focused on web design. We are going to be going in depth into what web design is all about, how you can get started in it, how you can learn it. There's a lot of information online. If you just Google web design, you're going to see millions of results in a few seconds. And so there's so much that is being thrown at you with respect to web design. But what we are doing tonight is we are having an expert come in and talk about this. Someone who has been in this field for close to 10 years now, has worked on doors for brands and businesses globally in Nigeria, in Africa, and outside, Africa, the continent. And so he's going to be speaking from that experience, that place, that piece of experience, and he's going to be shedding light on this skill. And as you know, he's going to talk for some time, and then we're going to have the Q&A, which is my favorite session. Right, so our expert for tonight is no other person than Yusuf Odukoya. Right, so just a brief background. Yusuf is the founder of Branditecture, which is a full experience branding and web design agency in Lagos, Nigeria. He has over 7 years. He's led Branditecture for over 7 years. He's successfully executed projects for medium scale and large enterprises, organizations such as Airtel, Spa, Keystone Bank, and many others, right? He was a jury and speaker at the 2019 Facebook Developer Circle event, as well as received national recognition for making it to the final round of the 100 Designs Designathon, right? He has over 15 years experience in the tech space and is the author of the best-selling book, WordPress and Elementor for Absolute Beginners. And so he's going to be brought up on the screen now. Yusuf, it's great to have you around. It's great to have you around. How are you feeling tonight?
Yeah, I'm feeling absolutely elated. I'm very glad to be here. Addressing, a lot of eager learners.
Okay, so awesome. Right, so guys, I had some chats with Yusuf earlier this morning on online, and then he showed me like this blackboard, this whiteboard of the things he had jotted down for tonight, and it's going to be fire. So I'm not going to without wasting more time. Yusuf, you have the floor for the next couple minutes. Tell us about web design. Tell us about your experience. Tell us about web design, your experience, and what it means to actually be called a web designer, and give us a roadmap for going from newbie web designer to a top-rated and experienced web designer, and how much time it takes. And of course, we will touching a bit on the marketing side. How can I sell my skills as a web designer? I know web design has made you millions. So just you have the floor. Just flow.
All right. Once again, everyone, I'm very glad to be here. And this night we'll be talking about website design, strictly website design, and we would not go without talking about the business side, the administrative side, and the marketing side, of course, because when you have a skill and you don't know how to market it, then you will make no difference, right? So that is exactly what we're going to be discussing about today. All right, my name is Yusuf once again, and I'm the founder and managing director at Brand Textual Design Agency, Lagos. I'm going to start by actually telling you how I got into web design. I had a background in graphic designer. I started my tech career as a graphic designer, actually, right? But it wasn't until after I finished my bachelor's degree. In fact, it was on my graduation day that I got a call from an in-law that they needed a website design. Please, at that time, please note that I had absolutely no experience whatsoever on website design. But I saw that call, especially coming on a special day, which was my convocation day. I saw it as a call into the world of website design, and I took it as a challenge. And I actually took on that project. I'm going to tell you what I did next. What I did next is that, well, website design is not impossible, right? It's something I should be able to learn like a lot of others. So I took that project and I learned on the project, right? While it is not a good idea to take on projects and learn on them, you have to look at the damage you are going to be causing if at all you fail. I was able to make all those assessments before I decided to take on the job, right? One of those things was that the budget was really, really low. It was an opportunity for me to test waters on website design. I also want you to know that everybody's journey into tech is going to be unique, right? I only said my own story. Your own story can be unique, and a lot of other people actually had to start, learn before they start getting their first jobs. I got mine before I even started learning at all. Funny, right? Right. That was because I was already into tech as a graphic designer. So who got me that job thought I actually design websites. I didn't say no. Unfortunately, that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. That actually took me into the world of website design. I didn't, I'm going to tell you how. Uh, Sorry, my fan is making background noise. I'm going to correct that. Hold on, please. Hello, apologies for the interruption. Can somebody confirm it is better now?
Yes, it is. It is. Go on.
All right, thanks for the feedback. All right, so that was how I got into the world of website design. But the world of website design is deep. So I'm going to go from being a stark beginner, being an absolute newbie, to actually being a world class website designer. All right, first thing first, you have to learn how to break into website design. How do you break into website design? One thing I like about website design is that you do not need to, to depend a lot on, people. There are a lot of free resources that you can learn, you can use to teach yourself independently, and you can actually start with almost zero budget. You don't need a huge fee. You don't need millions to get into website design. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be direct. I'm not going to overwhelm you with options, right? I'm not going to overwhelm you with options. I'm not going to leave you to have to decide on what to go to. I'm going to tell you two tools that are enough for you to start your career as a website designer. And one of those two tools is actually gamified, right? What does it mean by gamification? Something is made fun, made like a game, so that you are addicted to it, right? You are playing game, but then you are getting a lot of value from the game you are getting. As opposed to playing, PES and FIFA on your phone, you can actually open the app and start to learn website design, while entering into battles and challenging real life opponents, right? So I'm going to be sharing with you Solo Learn. Actually, Solo Learn is an app that is available on both Android and Apple iPhone, right? Solo Learn is actually an app that can allow you to learn website design interactively. It is actually addictive, right? You have nothing to lose. You're catching a lot of fun, and you are learning website design in the process. It has supported languages like HTML, JavaScript, Java, Swift, PHP. You can learn a lot of programming languages on Solo Learn. right? Then we also have W3 schools, right? W3 schools, right? W3 schools is a website. You can actually find it on Google. Just type W3 schools, and well, that is the second resource. It's actually a website. It has a testing environment where you can actually test your code while you learn. It's very very interactive, which is very very interesting as opposed to learning using PDF files and all of that. It's actually interactive and it is guaranteed to make you glue. So to make you stay glued. So those are the two major resources that you need to actually start a website design career. Don't let anybody overwhelm you with all different kind of resources that's going to make you distracted. Those are the two tools that you need to start website design, to get into website design. Solo Learn and W3 schools, right? So I've given you the tools. Now, what do you learn? How do you map your study? I mean, how do you start, right? So this is going to lead me to the three major languages we have in website design, right? I'm going to tell you the three major languages we have in website design. I'm going to tell you what each language does. Website design cannot exist without these three languages. We have HTML, we have CSS, and we have JavaScript. You're going to have to learn all these three languages if you want to become a website developer. What does HTML do? What does HTML do? HTML is actually like the skeleton, it's like the frame. When you are building a house or you are building a store, you need to have wooden structures to erect that building, right? So that is what HTML basically is. It is like the skeleton of the human body, right? Talking about website design, it provides the framework, the structure from the head to toe, right? From the header to the footer of every website. So there is no website that can exist, no matter what technology they used in building that website, because of course websites come in different shapes and sizes, and the technology behind them is finally rendered in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the three major languages that browsers can understand, right? The programming languages, depending on what programming languages you used, a pre-processing engine will have to render it in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the browser to be able to, display them to you, which makes them very, very important. You can't escape them. So HTML and CSS are actually the most important. Without them, you are going to fail as a website developer. Then we have JavaScript. So CSS, I've talked about what HTML does, right? So I'm going to talk about what CSS does. CSS is like the beautifier. When you have a house, you can't just start living inside it without painting the walls, without actually having furnitures around, without having TVs, without it will look odd, right? So that is what CSS does. That is what CSS. That is what CSS does. CSS is the beautifier. HTML is the framework, is the skeleton, like is the structural skeleton. CSS is the beautifier. It beautifies your work, right? Then we have JavaScript. JavaScript provides dynamism. It provides functionality, right? JavaScript can help you display things like pop-ups, like sliders, like time tickers, like like different kind of effects, right? That is what JavaScript does. JavaScript is now advanced that it can also offer a lot of things, including building back-end servers such as Node.js using Express, right? With it. So that is just that for now. So HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then after learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for some time, and you are a little bit comfortable with it, you can know whether you're comfortable or not comfortable by using the same Solo Learn app that I shared with you earlier. You can enter into battles and test your knowledge against the world, right? You have the opportunity to test how good you are against real world opponents and actually know your level, right? Everybody has level, so that's one of those things I like Solo Learn for. I'm not advertising any app here. I'm just here to, provide you with straight to the point answers, right? So you don't have to wander around. So that is that. You learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript next. Then it gets to a point you find out that, okay, I've learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I can't start building websites from scratch. Right? You can't start building every website project from scratch. You're going to get overwhelmed. In fact, you are going to get crazy if you try that. So this is what brings us to frameworks, right? As a developer, as a website designer, you need to select one framework that you are going to use. What frameworks do is that they accelerate or they reduce the time. They provide a particular you know, the particular design system for every website that you build. They have their own rules, their own set of rules. I'm going to tell you some of the popular and most important website technology or framework that we use today in the world of web design. Right, I'm going to start with Markdown languages. Right, we have Markdown ML. We have ML is actually not a framework, but it's one of those things you might be interested in learning in website development. It is not that significant, right? It doesn't have a huge market share, but then it is worth mentioning, right? Because you're most likely going to come across it. We have what is called Markdown languages. That's like the inverse of markup language, which is HTML, right? Then we have static site generators, like they call them SSGs. You should not even bother learning about that because it is not significant. I'm just mentioning, just to give them recognition, right? We have frameworks like Hugo, HUGO, HUGO. It is categorized under static site generator, right? You should not bother yourself with that. I'm going to tell you more significant ones that you should bother yourself with, right? So that brings us to JavaScript frameworks like React, React.js, we have React.js, we have AngularJS, and we have AngularJS is also called Angular. So don't be confused when you see AngularJS and Angular. The newer version of AngularJS is now called Angular. Then we have Vue.js. We have a lot of other JavaScript frameworks just for building websites and web apps. Then we have PHP frameworks, right, like Laravel. We have even more solid design stack that allows you to design websites faster, like WordPress. Are you with me? We have WordPress, which is one of the most popular methods of designing websites today. Currently, WordPress powers more than 45% of the world's websites, right? It is very solid. It started in 2004 and has since then, gotten a strong old status in the web design community. So WordPress is something that you should not overlook, especially as a website developer in Nigeria. I'm going to tell you the consequences or the benefits of learning WordPress and why I also decide to learn WordPress. As you can see, after learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you would be saddled with the decision, right? This is a turning point in your life. You can actually define how your life goes, right? So you should be careful. You shouldn't just go out there, studying everything, aimlessly. You should have a direction, which is one of those reasons why having a mentor is good. They help you shorten the time required to actually learn web design properly, and they give you a roadmap, right? I'm giving you the roadmap today for free, but then you have to make a lot of important considerations in your career as a website developer. I'm telling you right now, for the second time, I'm reiterating this for a fact that the framework you decide to go with after learning HTML, CSS, your primary framework that can determine your journey in life as a website developer. So you need to be careful. You need to consider a lot of things before choosing your framework. I am not going to choose for you, but I am going to recommend for you, based on some conditions which you currently find yourself in. One, you are a Nigerian. You are going to be working with a lot of Nigerian clients with relatively low budgets compared to the rest of the world. Nigeria is a third world country, and you don't expect fat budgets for most website development. So you need to consider this, and you need to learn a tech stack that has zero dependability, right? Doesn't need a lot of resources, almost zero dependent. So it doesn't need a lot of resources to learn or to use to produce something, right? So, which is why I'm going to advise that you shouldn't overlook WordPress. Of course, you can learn React.js, you can learn Vue.js, but note that learning React.js and Vue.js, while they will allow you to build more custom features for web apps, more custom, products, you won't be getting those jobs often, and you would have limited opportunities in today's world. You can go on platforms like Upwork, which I'm going to talk on later, on the marketing and business side, right? But I want you to consider WordPress. I'm telling you now because you do not have that. You will never regret learning WordPress before learning React.js. So WordPress actually gets you started on time. Building things like landing pages for websites. In fact, you can build landing pages in a day. Then you need to. We'll talk more about that later. So you can build e-commerce website. There are a lot of templates online there. We have platforms like teamforest.net where you can get ready-made templates. You bring them into your you import the demo data inside your WordPress installation or on your domain. Then you actually customize it based on your brand requirements. Things like brand colors. You remove some unnecessary features. You add some needed features using what is known as plugins. On WordPress, plugins are like apps. When you buy a new Android phone, you will not see apps like Zone and stuff like that. On WordPress, there's a very huge community, there's a very huge river. I mean, when we're talking about river, I'm talking about thousands, hundreds of thousands of plugins that you can use for almost anything, right? Ready made for you to just plug in and play. It is so unlike, when we're talking about frameworks like React.js, there's still a lot of documentation to read to be able to use a particular script or a particular, a particular code you must have imported from somewhere. So you need to read lots and lots of documentation. Meanwhile, on WordPress, most of those plugins they are intuitive, right? When you install the plugin today, you don't even need to read documentations like that much to know what the plugin can offer to your current installation of WordPress. It is actually very easy to install WordPress, and a lot of hosting companies give support for WordPress. If you have a problem, just chat your hosting company, your website hosting company, that I'm having this kind of problem. They tell you what to do. They have a lot of articles written there and they admit responsibility for that, you know, taking care of your WordPress issues, right? Just get a good hosting company, of which I'm going to mention some of them. We have Namecheap, we have HostGator, we have we have Bluehost, we have SiteGround, we have a lot of website hosting companies. They also offer domain purchase and domain registration services. They are accredited by the ICANN, which is the International Association of Naming or something. So ICANN, ICAN, right? So they are actually accredited. So you have no issues. Your domain cannot get lost. So you know what a domain name is, right? Domain name is like facebook.com. It's like a readable word that connects to your website that allows people to be able to navigate to your website, right? Every website you design needs at least a domain name where people can use to access the website worldwide. I hope you are making meaning of that, right? So that is everything you need about selecting your primary framework after learning all these fundamental website design languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You need to select your primary framework, and a lot of things goes, when you select your primary. I am just telling you to consider, WordPress first, but that is not the only one you should use. You can also learn React.js or Vue.js, but do not waste your time that much. If you find out you've been learning React.js for 2 months and you are not even making any meaning of that, it's either you change your environment, change your teacher, or try something else entirely. That is my own advice, right? That is my own advice with regards, selecting the primary framework that you want to go with, right? So I hope I've taken care of that part. Now, you selected your primary framework. Let's assume you've decided to go with WordPress and you're finding it faster. You've been able to do a lot of things faster than you can imagine. You've been able to create your first website. There's going to be a need for you to keep improving. How can you improve? You must have a personal website of your own. You're a website developer, right? First thing you should have is your own website. You should have a website design of your own and consistently look at other people's websites and see where you can improve on your own website. So that is how to market yourself without even disturbing anybody, without telling anybody that I am a website developer. Me, you can't go on my Facebook and see where I'm saying I'm a website developer. I design websites. I do this. No, you can't, right? I market myself in a very intelligent way. I talk about website design almost every time, And I say it in a relatable way. I make jokes about website design in a relatable way, not offensive jokes. So you have to be careful not to offend anyone. So I also, post website design tips, right? Those are ways you can market yourself without mincing a word, without saying, I design websites. All right. That is one of the most effective method of marketing yourself. Just keep improving on yourself, keep posting whatever solution you've provided to anyone with regards to website design. What website do you build? What did you just discover? Any discovery or anything, just publish it online. That is a very, very good way and most effective way to market yourself, right? You are going to be drawing high profile clients to yourself, right? It's a lot better than saying I design websites. If you don't have any projects to work on, just look on your street, look at your environment, you see schools, you can approach them, which is going to lead us to the business side of website development, which I'm going to talk about right now. The business side about website development, you must know how to write. You must know how to write. You must know how to speak. You must not. You should learn how to join sentences together, right? You should consider it a side a side activity. Learning English language, because that's of course the official language of Nigeria. Because you're going to be needing it a lot. So you should learn all of these things, and you shouldn't take them for granted, because when you approach a prospective organization or client, right? I have just 3 minutes more, so I'm going to round up. So when you approach a prospective organization or client, you're going to have to introduce yourself, but not every time. It is not every time you have the opportunity to actually speak, which is where we have things like proposals. I'm going to tell you other ways you can market yourself. We have what is called email signatures. If I send you an email right now, you see a flashing banner at the bottom of the email, right? Saying, click here for your website design services. I'm not talking to anybody, and it is a kind of unintrusive method of advertising yourself. I'm just sending a regular mail, then I embedded an advertisement just below my email, right? So those are clever ways to introduce yourself to the world as a website developer. But before you start making all those advertisements, make sure you've done things. Make sure you build things for yourself that people can look at and trust you, right? When you get into the business of website design, you start to get people being skeptical about sending you huge amounts of money. How can people trust you with their money? It is what you've done. It is how much you have on ground, how much you have to lose. All right, right? You have to build as many things that people consider too expensive to lose, like a website, a name for yourself, a brand name, a set of design language for yourself. That is the branding aspect. So I've talked about marketing briefly, and I've talked about the business side. Last and most important, before I round up this session, you should consider invoicing, right? If you want to, invoicing is a way to impress a new client that, look, I'm accountable. I'm not your regular, you get. So you need to have an invoicing system that has an auto reminder feature to remind your clients, without having to physically do it yourself. Because reminding clients manually, especially when you have a huge amount of clients, but if you are into web design, there's no way you won't have clients. Clients keep growing every year because the websites you've built before keep getting renewed. So those relationships are still there, right? So they need to renew their websites. So you have to be able to learn the habit of sending invoices, right? So that is going to be everything. So if you need an invoicing platform, you can use invoice.ng, right? It's very good. It's optimized for Nigerians. You can try that out. But I personally use Wave invoicing, right? Wave invoicing. Wave invoicing. Wave invoicing, unfortunately, does not work for people outside of the US and Canada anymore. But I was an earlier member. I was an early member, and I still have access to the platform. So you can also seek other alternatives. But I've given 2 examples that you can start with, if you don't mind. So those are my points for today. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
All right. Thank you so much. That was really, really enlightening. Like I always like to say, it's really crazy when you have to take 6, 7, 8 years of experience, of
Yeah.
knowledge, and of skill, and compress into 25 minutes of of sharing in a session, right? But I think that you did a great job, right? And So now we're basically at the question and answer segment.
Okay.
If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. We already have one or two questions. We have one or two questions already. I'll get to that. So if you have any questions, drop it in the comments. Now, the first question I have for you is something that a lot of persons have, and I'm sure that a few persons have who have been on the session from the start. We have two commonly related phrases. One is web design. The other one is web development. So we have people that call themselves web designers. Some other people call themselves web developers. And then we have so web design, web development. Are they the same or are they different? Right? So what are the similarities and what are the differences in web design and web development?
So I'm going to try to answer every question within 1 minute. So we have a lot of time for other questions as well. So website development and website design are actually both correct depending on the context, which they can mean the same thing and they can mean different things. It depends on the context which it was used, right? A web designer is also a web developer because designing a website is part of developing it, right? A website developer is somebody that can jump on an existing website and develop it by adding more features, right? It doesn't need to, and sometimes it doesn't need to be concerned about the visual aesthetics of the website, right? Which is also in another distinguishing factor between website designers and developer. A developer can be a back-end website developer, which doesn't have anything to do with the aesthetics of the website, like the colors. A back-end website developer has no business with the website colors, right? In most cases, they only talk about how servers handle requests, authentication like logins, username and password, talk about database designs. Are we using a SQL database or we are using a no SQL database? What kind of database are we going to be using? And those are intertwined actually. So we cannot call a back-end website developer, we cannot call him a website designer. Do you understand? Well, we can also call him a website designer. So that's why I said it depends on the context which it is being used, right? So the way you switch it can tell a lot about your experience in website design, the way you interchange all of these things. So that is just basically there's really the difference between a website developer and website design is insignificant in most cases, believe me.
Okay. Awesome.
Right,
now, still on this question,
database, there's what we call database design, right? Which is also a part of website development. So can we say a database designer is not a website designer? It is also a website designer. So it depends on the context of which it is used. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Still on this question, right? Some people say that web developers are more of persons who actually code and build websites from the scratch, while web designers are those who use maybe third-party tools like WordPress, like Magenta, like Shopify to build and design websites. What do you think about that?
All right, first and foremost, I would like to reiterate that actually differentiating between a website designer and a website developer is most of the time it's of no use in most cases, right? Now, let's assume there's somebody who designs from scratch and somebody who actually make use of existing framework. To the end user, they are both websites. Well, knowing which one is website developer and which one is website designer is, you will agree with me that it is completely insignificant. Like when companies want to hire a website designer, sometimes they interchange these words and it's totally acceptable, right? You don't have to build everything from scratch. In fact, it is forbidden. When you have an already existing solution, you consider the resources that you have.
Yeah, to make things easy.
You don't expect me to go and start writing PHP or Laravel when I can just use WooCommerce to display client products, manage inventory and all those things. Right. So, and again, I noticed that people who are website designers, people who learn the design part of website design are actually much more efficient and independent because the end user sees beauty part of the website, the interface, right? And if you are very poor at design, how would you be able to do something that attracts users? You won't, right? So this is one of
Okay.
those things that I would agree that website designers or website design is a more fancy or more sexy term to use for a web developer.
Okay.
That's just the difference.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Right. We have a few questions from our audience. Before we get there, I want to ask another question. Right. Can you talk a little bit? Can you talk about WordPress? What is WordPress? A lot of people, newbies, hear a lot about WordPress and what it is used for, right? So, can you talk about WordPress? What is WordPress about? What is it used for? How
All right,
powerful is it? How
all right.
flexible is it?
All
Okay,
right.
and
So
how can you
yeah.
learn it, real quick? Yeah.
All right. So WordPress did not have the vision that it will get to where it is today. Right?
Okay.
WordPress started in 2004. It started in 2004 by a guy called Matt. His name is Matt. He's a normal guy. He's not proud, right? You know how developers are. They are
Yeah.
you know. His name is Matt Mullenweg, right?
Okay.
Mullenweg, right? He developed WordPress as a blogging platform, as you can see from the name WordPress, right? It's for magazines, it's for blogs, it's for. He didn't know people are going to now, wire it and it's going to develop because it is open source. It's totally the development is totally in the hands of the public, right? Who have interest in the goal of the platform. Now, people have been able to join hands together and develop WordPress into what it is today. WordPress has
Okay.
thousands of developers worldwide, making it a better tool. Sorry for
No,
interruption.
no
So
problem.
WordPress
Bro.
has thousands of open source developers. So even though you are not contributing, whether or not WordPress is developing, right? So WordPress has now evolved into what can now be used to develop any kind of website, right?
Okay.
With every technology comes its own limitations, right? There are some website types that WordPress might not be suitable for, perhaps because of its current database design, how its database is wired to work. But let me tell you, WordPress can develop any form. In this world, we have more than 98% of the world's businesses are small businesses,
Okay.
right? They are so lean on resources. And this is how WordPress comes into the equation. And they're looking to build a forum for their product where people can get help. WordPress can do it. Are they looking to build an e-commerce platform to sell their products, which is an e-commerce website? WordPress can do it. Are they looking for a multi-vendor platform where a lot of like we have on GG on OLX back then? WordPress can do it. Just tell me anything WordPress can do. Really, I can't even imagine it. So it's all about getting started and try to tweak as much as you can. It all depends on how far, how good WordPress, but just be rest assured that you will be able to do a lot of things in record time with WordPress. That is why WordPress
What? Okay.
comes with.
So, quick question: What makes WordPress very easy? Can you talk about like the templates, the
Yeah,
plugins,
so
and all of
so
that?
so
Yeah.
yeah, so one of those things that made WordPress so easy. It is the community, right? If you start learning WordPress, you will never be left alone. As opposed to some frameworks where you get into an error, it takes you 3 days to even figure out the error. Like 3 days of session, Stack Overflow, and all of that. But when it comes to WordPress, the highest you can do is reinstall WordPress and the error is gone, and back up your data and restore them, then try to troubleshoot the error. There's what we call debugging in WordPress. WordPress is going to tell you the particular cause of the problem, and they're even going to send you an email in recent versions like, is this plugin that is causing this problem, right? It's going to save you a lot of time a lot of time in the end of the day, and you are going to be able to work more efficiently. You are going to see yourself having to work with more clients because you will finish projects faster, and you get to meet lots and lots of new people almost every day.
Okay.
Because you finish this job, this person tells Mr. B about the work you've done to them. You get the opportunity to meet Mr. A's friend, which you've done their website nicely. So it provides that platform, that opportunity for you to meet. In my life, I've I've been blessed by WordPress and I've met a lot of high profile and important people. Why? Because instead of me spending a year developing a solution, WordPress has allowed me finish it in record time, like a month, and I'm done. Do you understand the difference now? You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
yeah, so that alone is one advantage, that that you can't overlook when it comes to WordPress.
Using WordPress. Okay, so now someone is asking a question. What is the major distinction between front end and back end development, or
All right,
between a
so
front end developer and a back end developer?
all right, so as the term suggests, front end says it means something that is fronting you, that is facing you in the front, that you can see with your eyes, right? Like, I'm seeing, like, I'm using Facebook.com. All the buttons, the colors, the interaction, the pop-ups,
The
right?
text, yes.
The icons, the text are all a function of the
Images.
front end. The
Yeah.
images, right, are all the function of the front end. But back end are the login. Will Facebook accept this password? No. After accepting the password, will Facebook force me to do an OTP? No. Stuff like that. That is the back end, right? So the difference between the front end and back end basically is what you can see versus what you can't see, right? What you
Okay.
can see with your eyes and what you can't see with your eyes.
Cannot see. Okay, can you talk quickly about what languages do we have on the front? What do we have on the back? Just really quickly for the person who's
Right.
asking.
A lot of front end languages, these days it's actually very hard to say one language is back end because you can also use it to build front end. JavaScript is one example, right?
Yeah, for both of
JavaScript
them. Yeah.
front end language. It's also used to build servers. Look at Node.js, React.js. If you look at both extensions like JS.js, you think that they are both front end frameworks. Node.js is a back end framework, right?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
made of JavaScript. React.js is not a backend framework. It's not a backend framework. It is made of JavaScript as well. So you can see that we are using one language to build both front end and the back end. So back end and front end, they are not language specific, right? In most cases, they are not language specific. So you can use any language. Any language can be built on what can be used to build the back end. Look at PHP, for example. Facebook, some parts of Facebook are PHP, especially the mobile version of Facebook called the mbasic. You can actually access it by using mbasic.facebook.com. It's built using PHP, right? Then the desktop version, which is web.facebook.com, the more robust version of the web app, is built using frameworks like Node.js, right? I'm sorry, frameworks like React.js. React. Facebook is the owner of. They are the one that currently owns React and manages it.
Yeah.
So they use it in their platform as well. And we have other front end, frameworks like Backbone.js and all of that. And we have back end frameworks like languages like PHP, right? And again, there's a difference
SQL.
between yes, yes, you get. There's a difference between languages, technologies, and frameworks, right? Are you with me? So
Yeah, you're gone,
technology,
yeah.
combination of languages and framework and everything just to provide a solution. Anything that is used to provide a solution is technology. So the languages is actually the most basic form of any solution, right? It is what you use to talk to your computer. So that is how. So back-end languages can also be used. Some back-end languages can also be used for front-end, but most often we have PHP as a common back-end language today. Then we have JavaScript. We have some static site generators as the front-end language.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. We have a few more questions. I'm going to take this one, though I think you talked about it a little bit earlier, but you can just make more emphasis. And so the question is, as a web designer, how do you go into labor markets? So basically, I have the web design skill, or I can build websites, I can design websites. How can I start to get clients? Where can I find clients? How can I make money from this skill? How can I sell myself?
All right. So as a website designer, getting clients is more than just being good. You can be good at what you do, then you will be underutilized because your voice is not out there, right? And again, one thing I love about website design, you do not need to work under anybody, although you do not lose anything by working on that person because you gain organizational skills. You find out how to manage clients better, how to onboard clients. Those are some important skills that you need to develop as you go on as a website designer. Website design is more than more than designing websites. So to answer your question about how you go into the labor market, Different things work for different people. But I'm going to tell you the most effective way to present yourself in the labor market. What labor market means to you is different from what it means to me. Your own labor market might be you are trying to work for a company. My own might be I'm trying to bring all the company to myself, right? I'm trying to work. I don't want to work 9 to 5. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you different approaches to both. If you want to work for companies, right, you should have a corporate brand. But
Nice.
don't
I
have a
like that.
corporate
I like
when
that.
you don't have a personal brand, because you are going to be your own biggest brand influencer,
True.
right? Should have a certain level of followership before you decide to go on having a corporate establishment. Unless, of course, you want to partner with another person who already has an influence to some degree before, do you understand? So those are things that you should consider. So you want to become a website developer who wants to work for corporate organizations, or you want to work for small businesses, or you want to work for both. In my own case, I like working for both. I like working for companies, and I have both brands, I have both personas, and I can interswitch. If I'm talking to a big client, I use my company, which is brand texture. If I'm which is brand texture, and if I'm talking to a small client, like a small market woman who just want to go online, right? I use my own personal brand. They feel more comfortable being approached from a personal point of view. So how you go into labor market, I've already touched that before. Contribute to small projects. In the beginning, don't look at the fee, don't look at the money. Look at how you can build more look at how you can make things that you can look back to and build. A lot of people are going to allow you to put your own link to your own website under their website footer, just to show that you are the one who developed the website. That alone I've built a lot of websites today that came from the footer, right? The owner of the project discovered me from a footer of another website I've built. So you are very lucky as a website developer to use that marketing tactic. So you can build a website for ridiculously low prices, then put your link, your contact information, or a link to your contact. It can even be your WhatsApp link. Put it at the footer, developed by this. If somebody likes the website, they are bound to contact you. That is how you grow. Small things add up to become big. So that is how you can actually enter the labor market.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. I'm sure the person who asked a question, that is precious. I'm sure she has gotten some answers there. Now, when you were speaking, I like what you said. You said there are two ways you can enter the labor market,
Yeah.
as a corporate brand or with a corporate brand, or as a
Yes.
personal brand. Now, it
Yes.
makes sense to have your personal brand already built up. It makes sense to
Yes.
have gathered some following before you want
Yes.
to launch a corporate brand, right? Now, that
Yes.
takes
Yes.
care, that sort of is the area where the next question, is from.
Yeah.
Um, and the person says, I want to have a tech agency company that helps businesses build solutions, providing web apps and mobile apps, right?
Yes.
Please, what tech space can I acquire this skill? Now, the person is asking for where he or she can learn the web design skill, of which previously you mentioned two places. You mentioned W3 schools,
W3 schools and
and you
solo
mentioned
learn.
and solo learn, right? Now,
Yeah.
um, so, I'm going to break the question into two parts. You're going to talk about these platforms they can learn, and then you can add more. You can also talk about. I think you have a book that addresses this and all that. You talk about that as well. And then I want to talk about this tech agency company thing. You have
Yeah.
an agency you've run for 7 years, Branditecture,
Yeah.
that builds websites, that designs and all that stuff, does branding, right? So what
Yeah.
does it mean to have a tech agency company? Talk about that in like 1 minute, and then talk about platforms where one can learn the web design skill, as well as what you have. That is a book that has sold quite a number of copies, and all that. So just
All right.
talk around those. Yeah.
All right. So I'm first going to start by saying this is a very big question, right? The question of this magnitude needs to be taken from bit by bit. So first and foremost, if you want to have a tech agency company that helps businesses build solutions, right? There are a lot of moving parts in running a company, right? You can't You can't establish a company on your own when you don't have all the necessary experience from the legal point of view, from to accounting. Because me as a website developer, it's not only website development that I know. You don't know only website development and establish a tech agency,
The
right?
company.
So you don't do. So you need to understand the legal point of view, the tax, the accounting, and you have to also pay taxes. You have to pay income taxes if you own a company, right? You have to learn how to market. You have to
Yes,
master
how to market. True.
marketing, right?
Very
You have to
true.
know
Yeah.
Facebook ads, sponsor how to do sponsored advertisements. You have to know different kind of marketing approach, like SEO, PPC, impression marketing. So as you can see, I'm already going outside of website development, right?
Yes.
So if you
Yeah.
want to establish a tech agency, you also have to have interpersonal skills. You have to have human resources skills because, of
Building a
course,
team,
you
managing a
you need it.
team, leadership.
You need to
Yeah.
manage a team. You need both remotely and in-house, right? You are going to know how to. You must know what qualities you're looking for in employees, right? In prospective employees, what are the qualities, right? All of those things just come into play right now. To answer your question, you want to have a tech agency, right? Before you have a tech agency, you must have tested waters by having a personal freelance experience, in that industry. That is very compulsory, right? It's very, very necessary. It's very important, right? You must already have tested the industry as a freelancer. And there's also an added advantage in working for another agency before. In my own case, immediately I finished NYSC, I was opportune. In fact, I didn't even spend 6 days at home before I got the job. That is the beautiful thing about tech. When you are into tech, when you are immersed, in fact, you will run away from job because and money will pursue you, right? The most important thing is know what you are doing, right? So that is just so if you want to build a tech agency, you have to consider every playing part. The business registration part, how you can stay compliant, how what are the legal implications of having an agency. How do you onboard clients? You must have standard operating procedures. When you meet a client, what are the next things? Who are going to interact with the client first? How are you going? At what point are you going to send invoices? What are your payment terms? What are your cancellation clauses? Stop a lot of things like that if you want to have a tech agency. So my advice to this is you have to start by acquiring a skill, then you have to test those skills by working first as a freelancer. The amount of time you decide to work as a freelancer before you decide to establish your own agency is up to you. But just make sure you have everything in check before you actually establish that tech
Your own
agency.
company.
Else, right?
Fantastic. The second part of the question, what spaces or platforms can one acquire these skills? Then also, your own book that expounds on
Yeah, so
WordPress.
I have a book that is going to I'm not going to advertise the book too much because I'm not an advertising person. I don't advertise. I'm more interested in values. And again, I don't need like I don't I don't look for money desperately. So I won't tell you what the book
Okay.
don't do. I'll tell you what the book does. Right? The book is focused on people who wants to enter into the world of web design, but they are totally lost. And again, they don't really know how to code, but they want to build something. These
Yeah.
days, you don't need to know how to code before you actually build something. Although it is necessary, it is necessary, but not required, not important, but it can come handy. But then, you don't need to know how to code to actually build websites. That is what my book can allow you to go head to head with people who know how to code, and even actually sometimes, outwit them if you actually, go through the book and you can master it. The book talks about building websites on WordPress using the Elementor website builder. Right? Elementor is no longer a page builder. It is a website. It will build all your website from ground up. In fact, you can
True.
actually sell a website built inside an Elementor template, wrapped inside an Elementor template. Right? So
Yeah.
that is what my books is about. It's actually meant for beginners, people that's never even touched HTML before. Right? You would be able to build websites, using that book. Right? So
Okay.
that is what the book is about. You can actually,
Okay,
have that size skill,
fantastic.
because no matter what, you are going to be working with a lot of Elementor developers. You can't escape it. There's a very huge chance that your website will be built using Elementor. So it's
Okay.
very good book for entrepreneurs as well.
Okay, how about the other platforms? Okay, so while we're having this conversation, can you maybe type
Yeah.
the link to get the book in the chat so that can be put up? Just type that, sent to me. Then while you're doing that,
All
how
right.
about
So
other platforms where you can learn web design? You talked about Solo Learn. You talked
yeah.
about W3 schools. Are there any more other platforms that are really simplified for the beginner, for the newbie, and makes it
Um.
easy for you to learn web design? Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe that one of the benefits of having a mentor is that they don't overwhelm you with too many options. They don't make you
True.
wishy-washy, right?
True.
And it's actually a very, very important attribute for any mentor to have. I'm not going to mention any other
Platforms.
alternatives
Okay.
of learning website design. Those are enough for anybody of any level to learn
To
website design.
learn.
Trust me, trust me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. I think we'll take the final question. It's been a long night. We've gone past even our time limit, but that's fine. It happens. So we'll take the final question. From Precious. Do you need any form of certification to show that you are a web developer or designer? That's a very, very, that question gets to be asked a whole lot. Do I need a certification to show everybody in the world I'm a web designer, patronize me or something?
All right. In today's world, right? In today's world, entrepreneurs and businesses and clients, they don't care. They found out that certifications are not going to offer them the value they want, but rather track record and skills would, right? That doesn't mean that you should ignore certifications, but they should be secondary considerations, right? They should never be your primary consideration. If you don't have money to get a certificate as a website developer, then you shouldn't bother yourself about it. Instead, you should focus on the skills, right? Because there are lots to learn out there, and one organization will not be enough to teach you everything. You have to take resources from everywhere. The most important thing you need is a mentor that is going to tell you what to do. And unfortunately, organizations cannot provide one mentor for every person. So it is actually good to have a certificate or to be certified, but then it is not a sign qua non, right? It's not something that if you don't have them, you are considered a failure. No, right? A lot of people actually got those certificates from the money they hustled from website design, right? They started working offering services before they got this
Already.
money for services. That alone shows it is not important. Unless when you want to work for big corporations like HP, which have very extensive and tedious structure, then you might
Yeah.
want to consider certificates. So, I mean, I hope that totally answers the question.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, it does. I have two final questions very quickly. Now,
Yeah.
I like what you said because I was going to ask a question. For those basically who want to learn this web design skill so they can get a remote job in a foreign company,
All right.
right? What
Yes.
what are some of the things they need to have handy? I know, for example, a
Okay.
portfolio. A good portfolio is one of them. What are the other things?
Yes.
So that's the first question. Then the
Okay.
second is, like you said, if for example you want to get employed at HP, then you might need to get a
Yes.
certification. What certifications do we have maybe in web design and web development that are notable that people can get? Just two questions. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, well, there is no single body that we can. I'm going to answer the second question first, and the first
Yes.
question
Okay.
last.
Okay.
Right.
That's
So
fine.
there's no
That's fine.
single body. There's no single body in the world that can provide. I mean, that we can say offers. Of course, we have platforms like Udemy. We have platforms like, you know, I know of Udemy. I know of. We have other platforms like that, which I can't recall,
Okay.
unfortunately, now. But Udemy is a very good example, right?
Example.
You
Okay.
must have seen the adverts on DSTV or on other platforms. When you take a course on Udemy, you get certified. We also have platforms like Masterclass, right? Those are Udemy competitors. They're actually competitors. Ask yourself, who certified the owner of Udemy, right? Well, that is another question, right?
Question.
So all these
Okay.
builds credibility over time to now say, okay, I want to offer a certificate course.
Certification.
That's another point to show you that certificates don't matter. But then it also matters, and it also matters to somebody. So what those big corporations look out for is actually not the certificate, but a proof. I see a lot of people working in Microsoft today, they don't even have the certificate, right? So it's just a track record.
Amazing.
Right? Certificates are actually useless in this. Like, they are not completely useless. You will be safe if you say that they are useless, right? Because in most cases you won't need them. In fact, both both you might even your university certificate is more important than any website design certificate. But me, I've not collected my own university certificate because I never needed it. So that's just it.
Okay. That's awesome. I think you actually answered the two questions at once. You can get certifications from places like Udemy. I know. For example, about Coursera. I've taken a few courses there.
Yeah,
I know about. I think we have Codable. I think we have
we have Google Primer these days that even offer certificates. Google Primer.
Google what?
Primer. Google Primer.
Okay, fantastic. I think even W3 schools gives a certification. You can go ahead to get certification in
yes,
WordPress.
maybe they just started, but when I started, so all of those things now, it depends on whether the company you want to work for accepts those certificates from those bodies or not. Do you understand? That's another thing.
Exactly.
In the end, you will notice that how many certificates, instead of actually learning, developing yourself, you are asking for certificates. In the end, it will not make sense to you. So it's most important.
It's about the skill. Yeah, I like how you put it. It's about the skill and proof that. And proof that you can. So a current trend happening today, as we start to round up, is that with a lot of employers out there are saying that people are you can forge your CV, you can duplicate your CV, you can add so many things there, and so so it's easy to get it's easy to get deceived by CV. And so what they want to do, a lot of these companies, what they do is, you are this, you are that. They want to see how you can communicate, how you can speak well. They want to see your sign of English. They want to see your temperament. And then what they do is that they give you a simple task to do. They give you a pitch to build, for example. They tell you to take this template and redesign it using Elementor, just like you talked about, and all that. So this has been really fantastic. Somebody else, this is the final thing. It's not a question now, but somebody else, that is Precious. Precious asked, okay, can you mentor us? I think I know that you have a sort of mentorship package and all that stuff.
Currently, I don't charge for mentorship, right?
Okay.
Actually, there are levels to this thing. I don't charge for mentorship normally, but then my availability might be limited. But then I try as much as possible to guide. I have some people already on my platform, on my Facebook, enjoying free mentorship from me.
Awesome.
And it is personal, right? So if I don't have the opportunity to reply, please do not take it personal, because I currently don't have a mentorship program. I currently suspended my mentorship program because I found out that it wasn't allowing me to attend to my own clients. Right? I have clients that I give support to after sales. This is one of the lessons as a website designer. When you have clients, you finish building a website for somebody, you shouldn't just leave them to their fate. You have to follow up. You need them
offer support,
establish a relationship. By the end of, before you know it, you start getting money from places you never can imagine.
Referrals,
That is how you can sustain yourself. You don't say no job then. No, you don't say no new website design project then, and that's why I'm broke. No, every new website you build is an opportunity for recurrent income, right? So it depends on how you go about it. So that is how me I've chosen to go about it. So which made my availability limited. So that's my answer. But if you want, if you really want, I'm not sure anybody can afford that. So I charge $1,360 to actually take somebody one-on-one for 2 months, right? I'm not saying you should. In fact, don't even consider that. I would personally mentor you for free anytime. Just get in touch with me on Facebook. He's going to type my Facebook name so you can get in touch with me on Facebook.
Fantastic. But so if I got you correctly, so for those basically who would like some form of mentorship. Yusuf has a group on Facebook dedicated
Yes.
100% to web design. In fact, I think you run competitions and all that, and maybe
Yes. Yes. Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you just drop the name of the group so we can put that up? So he has a Facebook group that you can join in. It is totally free. You are going to meet over close to 1,500 other web designers, basically, who share different, who ask questions, who share tips,
You ask questions
and
and solutions are everywhere. Yeah. So
yeah, to
you are
problems.
not.
Yeah. So it's going to be put up now. It's going to be put up now on the screen. The name of the group is Building WordPress. Okay. So if you want to connect to Yusuf on Facebook, just type in Yusuf Odukoya. I was always going to ask about this name. Why you changed your name?
Right.
That's
So
okay.
why I changed my name to Yusuf Odukoya is that I found out that Yusuf is actually easy to remember. There's a lot of time I want to mention somebody on a post and I kind of forget their name or their surname. Maybe their surname is Olari Big and it's difficult to remember. So
yeah,
this
true.
is a marketing tactics for me. So Yusuf is
Okay,
you cannot
okay.
forget you once you just type at YU then or
Okay.
this is
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. So to connect with Yusuf on Facebook, type in Yusuf Odukoya. His Facebook group is Building WordPress Websites with Yusuf. They're going to be joining over 1,000 persons, web designers from across the world who are doing awesome things. And then the best means to learn web design from Yusuf, right, through his knowledge, his skill, and experience, is by getting his book. The link is going to be displayed. The book is available on Seller, right?
Yeah.
Seller.co/WGCX. The link has also been put on the YouTube live chat, so you can get it from there. There's a book with over, I think, close to 150 pages, over 100 pages.
It's
detailed.
It's close to 200 pages.
Okay, close to 200 pages. Okay, fantastic. Dedicated strictly to web design. And Yusuf has guaranteed that if you get this book, what's the price of the book? I think it goes for 6,500.
6,000 naira.
6,000 naira. Okay, 6,000 naira. And one thing I like about how Yusuf sells, there are no discounts. It is 6,000 naira. Whether on Valentine's Day, whether Christmas Day, whether New Year's Day. I don't. How about Black Friday? How about Black Friday?
No discount. No
discount. Okay, awesome. I like your style, right? So the book goes for 6K. I can assure you that 6,000 naira is more than enough investment to master this skill. Do you understand? I hate dealing with persons. I get a whole lot of people every day who are in my inbox. They want to learn this, they want to learn that. And then I say, okay, fine, you want to learn this? I'm too busy right now. Why don't you go to that platform and take this course, or go here and watch this video? And again, I get, my data. I don't deal with such people. Don't talk to me about data. If you talk to me about data, right, and you tell me data is a problem, then you really don't want to learn the skill. You are still playing around your life.
Exactly. Because they are not. You don't really need much resources, like I said. You can always and do those midnight data plans.
So you cannot flourish in tech. You cannot grow at all in your life or anything in your life without sacrifice.
Exactly.
You cannot flourish in tech with the little basic things like a smartphone, like data. Data is the oil of tech. Data is the blood. It's like the blood. It's the blood of tech. Do you understand? So if you want to grow in tech, fix your data. MTN has some amazing plans. So have a budget. 5K on an MTN plan will give you 40 gig. I think MTN has a new plan now, 6K.
Yeah, when you get a new SIM
50 gig.
When you get a new SIM card.
6K for 50 gig. Those days when like 3 years ago, right? As guys were wrapping up already. We're wrapping up. In 2 minutes we'll be out. Those days, basically, like 3 years ago, to get then it was Glow ringing. Glow had this like really cheap data plan. I used to change Glow SIMs every 3 months. Or was it every 6 months? I can't remember. But then after a while, I had like 5-6 Glow SIM cards because I was changing SIM cards, buying new SIM cards every month. And that, of course, that was not my main line. That was strictly for data. So if you want to grow, get data. You're going to have to watch videos take courses online and all that stuff, right? So thank you so much, Yusuf. It's been a really, really enlightening session. You have expanded so much on web development and, of course, majorly web design. You've talked about the difference. You've talked about how you can learn and grow this skill. You touched on freelancing. You even talked about how you can build a digital agency or an agency around this skill. You talked about how you need to build your portfolio, build your personal brand, and then from there you can build a corporate brand. You talked about how that before you build a corporate brand around this skill, you have to learn other associated skills. You have to learn marketing. You see, I'm sorry if you learn web design, I don't want to discourage you, right? But if you learn web design, on the side, we're learning how to market. He's talked about how you can market yourself, how you can write, you can drop tips online, share, work on projects, and share the project you've worked on online for people to see.
Exactly.
Right? And as you work on project with clients, don't focus on the money. That's where a lot of young designers and developers lose. Don't focus on the money. Focus on building relationships, right?
Exactly.
And all that stuff. So it's been a really fantastic session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm very glad to have taken on this.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been really good to have you. Once again, to connect with him, go on Facebook to you Odukoyas. Guys, as usual, I'm not going to forget. As usual, drop the fire emoji if you got anything from today's class. Drop the fire emoji. I want to see it. Let's go. I'm looking right now on the screen. I want to see the fire emoji if you got anything from today's class. Right? To connect with Yusuf, go on Facebook, type in you Odukoyas, join his Facebook group, Building WordPress Website with Yusuf, and get his books, seller.co/WGCX. Right? Guys, I'm not seeing the fire emoji. What's going on? Drop the fire emoji. Now, this is just the second session in the Get Into Tech program. We are going again back to back next week, and it's going to be digital marketing, right? So if you join today, you should join next week. If your goal is to learn web design, become a master in it, and make good money, make millions, like Yusuf has, and actually even I have. But today is not about me, so I'm not going to talk about myself. Right? Join in next week. We'll talk about digital marketing proper, and you also learn how you can take this skill, web design skill, and market and sell yourself, right? Fee Steven is going to be joining us next week. And until then, we will be back. Thank you so much for joining in tonight. Until next time, until next week, Friday. Thank you, Yusuf. We'll meet in the back end. Until next week, Friday, we will be back again. See you guys.